So first of all, a few words about my association with Kav Halacha, and it's a schus to serve. I think Rav Seifer and his entire team are doing a tremendous service to the Torah community by making themselves available, as mentioned, 24 hours a day, to serve Am Hashem. Baruch Hashem, our community is growing in many ways, in quantity, in quality, in numbers, in dedication. And it is so important to have qualified Rabbonim dealing with such a huge variety of shaylas in Halacha. And today, when Yom Kippur approaches, we are dealing with one of the greatest challenges in Halacha. On one hand, Yom Kippur is a kores, averes chamuris shebetayra. On the other hand, we're dealing with pikuach nefesh, which overrides Yom Kippur, Shabbos, and all the other mitzvahs besides Gimel averes chamuris shebetayra. And we need to daven shalom nekoshel b'dvar halacha. It's a huge challenge, and we all need siyata d'shmaya and guidance. Those that need to eat usually are happy to know they can eat l'shiurim and minimize the aveda. But some people must eat or drink more than shiurim, and even shiurim is still an issa d'oraisa chot shirosem anatoim. So when the Tzemach Tzaddik, the Vishnitzer Rebbe, was ill, and the doctors told him that he must eat on Yom Kippur, he was brokenhearted. His mechutin, the Belzerov, Reb Shila Belzer, wrote him a letter. And he wrote to him that his great father, the Sar Sholem, the first Belzer Rebbe, the first Belzerov, was told by his doctors that he needs to eat on Yom Kippur. And his son, Reb Shila Mebelz, writes that when he ate Yom Kippur, he ate with simcha, with his slahabis, like kazayas rishon shal matzah b'leil seder. I need to clarify this story. Definitely not b'simcha. Because the poskim say, if you need to eat on Yom Kippur, it can't be b'simcha. I think a slavis is the right word, not simcha. Knowing that is mekayim a mitzvah of v'nishmarta moed lenafshasaychem, and the mitzvah v'chai b'hem v'lo yishiyamus b'hem. Some sources bring the story that he made a brocha. Asher kedishonu b'mitzvoisa v'tzivono. I don't even know what the end of the brocha would be, but that's a silly story. It's a stupid story. There is no brocha on pikuach nefesh. But yes, he ate not with simcha, but with his slavis, knowing this is my mitzvah, this is my chiyuv. So when a person is told by his doctor, by his rav, that he needs to eat on Yom Kippur, he should understand, right here and now, that's his mitzvah. Hoping that he never will have this mitzvah again in his life. And you can imagine how one needs to cherish a mitzvah, which he hopes he will have only one opportunity during his lifetime to be over on Yom Kippur, lepikuach nefesh. So let us hope we'll all be well and there will be no need. I want to say a few words thanking the doctors that are with us, Dr. Dinner and Dr. Radsdorfer. I don't know whether we met personally, but how important it is, the cooperation, the collaboration, and working together, Rabbonim and doctors. I think doctors should be careful not to give psak, and Rabbonim should be extremely careful not to give psak without understanding the issues. There is one example I give many times when I speak in our, before Yom Kippur, we have an annual get together, hundreds of Rabbonim come, and we have a panel of doctors. And I told this story more than once. There is a condition which is OHSS, ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome. And when a woman is getting ready for retrieval of egg in the process of in vitro fertilization, IVF, she is treated with hormones to stimulate the ovaries to produce more egg. And she was in this process, and the doctor told her she can't fast Yom Kippur, she must drink. She asked the Rav, and the Rav assumed that the doctor said she must drink because otherwise the procedure won't be successful. And the Rav was a big Talmud Chacham, and he thought in his mind, yes, the Ramban and the Ran both quote Halacha's Gedolim, is very well known, that we're Mechala Shabbos and we eat on Yom Kippur to save a fetus, to save a ubar. But that is only after the woman is pregnant. But there is no heter to eat on Yom Kippur to ensure that the implantation will be successful and the embryo will develop into a fetus and ultimately into a child. She's not pregnant yet. And because she's not pregnant, there is no uber, there's no heter to eat on Yom Kippur. And the Rav told this young lady, even though the doctor told you, you must drink, that's not right, don't drink. She was rushed to the hospital, Yom Kippur, and she almost died. And the Rav wasn't aware, didn't understand why the doctor told her she must drink. It had nothing to do with a future fetus, with a future pregnancy. It had to do with her condition. Because sometimes when we want to stimulate the ovaries to produce more egg, there is overstimulation, which is hyperstimulation, and that is ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome. And it causes the blood vessels to be porous, and a lot of fluid leaks out of the blood vessels, which causes hypercoagulation or coagulability, and which endangers her life. And it cause blood clots. So this Rav ignorantly figured, why must she drink? That the implantation would be successful and a baby will be developed. Understanding what he misunderstood, he was right. But he totally was ignorant why the doctor told her she must drink, and her life was barely saved, and she needed to be hydrated. So this is just an example. Before a Rav gives psak to a patient, he must understand why the doctor said what he said, and he must consult the doctor. And we must be on the same page, and that is why the cooperation between Rabbanim and doctors in this area, as in any other area, is so, so important. So I thank the Rabbanim that are with us and the doctors that are with us. So I just want to relate to a list of some very relevant questions that were forwarded to me by Kav Halacha, and then I will say goodbye because I have a very busy night and I'm not feeling very well either. So the first question was, a woman fainted in shul or at home. What are we supposed to do? Should she drink shiurim? Should she drink normally? What are we supposed to do? So the question is not after a woman. Men could faint just like women. And it is a frightening spectacle. And usually people don't know what to do. There's a story in Chasam Sofer. What a story. What a story. And in my Sefer on Minchas Oshan Corona, I wrote a lengthy article about the person that caused the demise of another person, b'shaygik. Tikkun Tshuva. So the Chasam Sofer tells a story. A Jewish maid working in someone's house fainted. And the Balas Abayis rushed to the cabinet to find schnapps, whiskey or cognac, because they thought a glazer of schnapps is the remedy to everything. And she poured schnapps into that poor lady lying on the floor who fainted. By mistake, it was petrol and not schnapps, and the woman died. And the Chassam Sofer deals with the question of tikkun tshuva. The Balas Abayis wanted to save a life, and she killed the person because it was petrol poured down her throat, which destroyed her esophagus or but why did they think pouring schnapps into a person's mouth will make him better? It's crazy. It's insane. That's what they thought. So what are we supposed to do when a person faints? The reason a person faints is there was not enough blood flow to his brain, and that is why people faint. Usually, it's no sakana at all. If a person faints at home or in shul, you lie him on his back, you lift his legs, which will cause more blood to go to the upper body and to his head and to his brain, and he's going to be okay. In most cases, after a few moments, he's going to feel fine. It usually happens when a person is slightly dehydrated and he stands up suddenly. When a person stands, the heart and the entire system needs to work harder to push blood up to his head. When he lies, then blood flows easily to his head, to his upper body. When he sits, it's somewhat more of an effort. When he's standing, that's the greatest effort to the heart and the related system to push blood up to his head. So the first thing you do when a person faints is lie him on his back, lift his legs, he's going to be fine. But the question is, what caused the drop in blood pressure? What caused a diminished flow of blood up to his head? In the vast majority of cases, his life is not in danger, but you could never know. Maybe there's some underlying problem. So the first thing, lie him on his back. Hopefully he's going to get better within seconds. If not, you definitely need to call Mara. You need to call an ambulance if he does not come back. If he does come back, first of all, his life is probably not in immediate danger. You ask the person, is this the first time this happened to you? Or do you know this phenomenon? Most times the person will say, I know what happened to me in the past. It's nothing. I saw a doctor. The doctor said, I'm not concerned. He's going to be okay. If he feels he needs to drink, let him drink, because it might be caused by dehydration. But he definitely needs to see a doctor. If it's Yom Kippur in the morning, I would say, call Mada, take him to the hospital. Probably it's nothing, but it could be caused by serious illness he might not be aware of. So if it's a half hour before the end of the day and he feels good, he definitely could wait. But he should see a doctor. If he doesn't, if it's not a phenomenon that he knows, and he spoke to doctors and he said he's okay, there's no danger, and it happened to him the first time, he needs to be examined. So when you revive him, he could drink, he might be dehydrated, but he should see a doctor if this is the first time it happened to him. That's about fainting. Second question was dementia. So many times when a person has dementia, he's elderly and his physical state is not that great either. But sometimes it's an early onset Alzheimer's or other types of dementia. He's physically okay, but his mind is tragically impaired or compromised. He's not aware that it's Yom Kippur. The family does not need to spend the entire day telling him it's Yom Kippur and prevent him from eating. That will be very difficult because he will forget again and again. He'll be tormented and become agitated. And the same is for a person that is defined halachically as a shaita. However, if you can, don't feed him, but you could put food where he has access and where he will help himself. That is not defined as safina le biyadayim.
If by telling him that it's Yom Kippur, then that might cause that other days as well, he starts thinking about Yom Kippur, and for the next week or two, he might always say, no, I can't eat today because it's Yom Kippur. Is that more of a reason not to tell him about Yom Kippur?
I'm not a mumche in dementia or Alzheimer's, but I think it's extremely unlikely if you tell him today it's Yom Kippur, he will think tomorrow or the day after tomorrow that it's Yom Kippur. That is extremely unlikely because he forgets, and he will forget that you told him today it's Yom Kippur. So it's a theoretical question, but it's very unlikely. In my tshuvas, I dealt with a crazy question. There was a person that had dementia. It was Yom Kippur. And he didn't want to eat because he was a big Yerei Shemayim. And the only way to get him to eat was by telling him it's not Yom Kippur. So he told his son, if it's not Yom Kippur, then eat. I want to see you eating, then I'll eat. And he needed to eat because he had a heart condition. And the doctor said, if he doesn't eat, his life is in danger. His son asked me, could I eat? Because if I eat, he won't eat. Did anybody deal with this crazy question? Yes. A periodical, a Torah journal that came out 300 years ago in Amsterdam by the name of Eitz Chaim. Eitz Chaim is the name of a bismedish and a library in Amsterdam going back to the days of the Chacham Tzvi. So a journal was printed, like many journals that are printed in our days, and many Talmidei Chacham participated. One young Talmid Chacham, not famous at all, we know nothing about him, wrote an article about this question. And his psak is, the healthy person cannot eat. You have no heter of pikuach nefesh. And I disagree. And I say, however the pikuach nefesh comes about, natural or totally unnatural, if it is clear to us that if I don't eat, he won't eat, and his life will be in danger, you could eat. Just like I am a Chalash Shabbos to save another person's life, I eat to save another person's life. But that is just a strange question that doesn't really happen very often. But in our case, I think it is very unlikely that by telling him it's Yom Kippur today, we will cause him difficulty or problems in the future. So we should tell him it's Yom Kippur, but we don't need to sit there all day telling him it's Yom Kippur because ain't based in mitzvah and lahafrish. Number three.
Ask Dr. The doctor, if we could just ask Dr. Dinner to weigh in on that with your experience with dementia. What was if there's any other repercussions afterwards?
No, I would agree with Rabbi Weiss. Exactly.
The doctors see the same, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you, Dr. Dinner.
No, I wasn't questioning Chas v'shalom.
I wouldn't argue with the Rav anyway, but I agree. I do agree with him.
I defer. If you think I'm not right, you should argue.
Right.
But you should. Anorexia and other mental illnesses. Anorexia is practically the only case in which I say eat normally, not l'shiur. I'm not aware of any other chayla that needs to eat normally. Many people or women need to drink. They have a danger of dehydration or kidney failure, but very few chayla need to eat normally. Anorexia is an exception. Anorexia is a psychiatric ailment. It's not so physical, it is more psychiatric. People, especially girls, die from anorexia. I personally know a few families that lost a child to anorexia. And if we try to impose on them shiurim, it might throw them back to a state which will be extremely jeopardizing even their life, not only their well-being. So a patient that has anorexia, it's a condition in the mind and not so much in the body. And they need to feel comfortable eating, and imposing on them shiurim could be very, very detrimental to their condition. And therefore, when we're dealing with anorexia, I say, let her eat, lefi hatzairach, and don't try to impose on him or her. Mostly it's girls more than boys. We don't know exactly why. Anorexia, no shiurim. Other mental illnesses or psychiatric illnesses. Mental illness, psychiatric illness is broken down fundamentally in two different groups or categories, psychosis and neurosis. They're different. People that are psychotic sometimes live in an imaginary world. They hear voices we don't hear. They see things we don't see. And psychosis could cause them to be extremely dangerous to themselves and to others. A few years ago, there was a tragedy in Yerushalayim. A 15-year-old boy who never acted violently before killed one of his family members, a 3-year-old child, locked himself in the child's room and strangled him. And it was total shock to the family because that boy never acted violently before. That's psychosis. So they need to take their medicine. Sometimes, if it's lithium or other medicines, you can't take it without some food. And in that case, shiurim. Shiurim should be enough. Neurosis is of a different nature. Usually, neurosis is not dangerous. But if the doctor treating the patient said it might be, follow the doctor's rules. Generally speaking, and I'm talking to the younger Rabbanim now, generally speaking, according to Chazal, the doctor is king. You ask the doctor. We have a big problem adapting halacha to modern medicine. Once upon a time, it was all about the patient. Today, it's more about the condition. Because 1,500 years ago, or even more in the days of the Mishnah, the Gemara, 500 years ago in the days of the Shulchan, we knew very little about medicine. And that is why Halacha says, Maka shel cholol, any internal ailment, you're machal Shabbos. So it was all about the patient. The doctor looked at the patient, and he was impressed that if this person won't eat, he looks so schwach, he looks so frail, he looks so weak. It was about the patient. But with the advance of medicine and the advance of communications, today we ask doctors about ailments and about illnesses. And sometimes I feel it's not fair to the doctors. Because a doctor once spoke to me very openly and he said, I studied medicine 10 years. And I don't recall one lecture dealing when does a patient need to eat. If he's hungry, he needs to eat. If he's not hungry, obviously, he doesn't need to eat. As I said before, we could speak about many conditions that demand intake of fluids, but very few conditions would require eating. Cancer. A person could be desperately ill, but he feels well. He's functioning. He goes to work. He goes to kollel. If he's in chemotherapy, sometimes it is devastating. And he's so weak he could barely talk. So when you ask a doctor, a cancer patient with advanced cancer, does he need to eat or not? It depends on the condition of the patient. It's not about cancer. It's about the cancer patient. How is he feeling? How is he coping? How is his intake of nutrition? And so many different factors. So generally speaking, even today, a choshev from Bat Ben Abel called me. There's a patient, his doctor said he needs to eat. He consulted another doctor on the phone, and the other doctor said, you don't need to eat. And I say, the doctor that knows the patient and he treats the patient, he is the one to decide. He knows his patient's condition, physical, emotional. So it is the doctor that treats the patient that reigns supreme, and he should be consulted. But generally speaking, psychiatric patients need to take their medicine. Usually they don't need food. When you have anorexia, it's all about food. Other psychiatric cases, it's about your medicine, and they need to take their medicine. People that are elderly and frail or weak, sometimes they're doing fine. But any person who is 80 or 85 or 90 is very schwach. All his systems are somewhat diminished. He doesn't have a young heart, he doesn't have young lungs, and sometimes they're very frail. I know that Rav Wozner and Rav Shlomo Zalman, two of the greatest poskim of our era, felt that the elderly, and I cannot say, people today ask me exactly, what age? And what about the Chodesh Ubar? Well, does that count or not? And when people want me to give definitive answers, I jokingly say 12 o'clock, 25 minutes, and 15 chalok. But that is language we only use once a month by Birchas HaChodesh. That is the only time we could give a definitive number. That's not the language of Halacha. So I can't say what age. But once again, it depends on the condition. Most people, the extremely elderly, I know that these two Gedolim felt that a person that is frail and really elderly should not fast. I think that the biggest sakana for elderly, frail people is falling. Because when an 80-year-old person falls, many times that's the beginning of the end. He might break his pelvis and be debilitated, defined to a wheelchair, and then develop sores, and many times it's the beginning of the end. So if a person is with him 24 hours a day, taking care of him, but if he needs to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and he's going to get up, and when you fast, your reflexes are always diminished, even a young person. And the biggest danger for the very elderly fasting is they might fall. And if they fall many times, and that is clearly a chashash sakana, and therefore I think these people should not fast. If somebody is next to them, if they're enough clear of mind, shiurim should be okay, but they should eat, they should drink. And I'm talking about the elderly people that are frail. I know a person that's 90 years old. He doesn't walk with a cane. He walks faster than I do. I'm not that young either, but I'm very far from that age bracket. I'm talking about elderly people that are frail, that are weak, that are shvach. They walk with a cane. The biggest sakana is they might fall as a result of their fasting. Medicine. Me'ikar hadin, there is no issur to swallow pills on Yom Kippur. We want to avoid it. We want to avoid any intake. By me'ikar hadin, swallowing a pill is not defined as achila. It's not chotzi shir. It is not defined as achila at all. So people that take medicine on a steady basis, especially if the medicine is for debilitating conditions or life-threatening conditions, should just keep on taking their medicine. If a person can't swallow a pill without some water, but he doesn't need the fluid intake, it's just to enable him to swallow a pill, then the eitzah is, Erev Yom Kippur, prepare some very strong tea, which is not appealing to your palate. It's not appealing to your taste. That is shelo kederach achila. If you need fluids, none of the poskim suggest passing what you need to drink, because inevitably that will have you drink less. So we're just magnifying the problem and not solving it. So when a person eats food or drinks to sustain his health, then we never would suggest passing what you need to eat or drink. But if all he needs is a little water to swallow a pill, then he should passel that water. Not with salt, because salt would make you more thirsty. What I suggest is a very strong tea, which is not appealing, but it won't make you vomit. It won't cause you nausea. And that is shelo kederech achila, so you could swallow your pills. But people should take their medicine on Yom Kippur if this medicine is dealing with a serious preventive measure.
Someone who has strong headaches without the morning coffee, can they take a caffeine pill?
It is suggested to take that caffeine pill before Yom Kippur. I think they're quite effective, usually. So
how about
could a person take pills for his headache on Yom Kippur? And many times people tell me, I'm not feeling well. The fast was put into place, you should not feel well. That is exactly what the Torah wants. The Torah doesn't want you to feel well on Yom Kippur. So the fact that you're not feeling well doesn't mean you should try to feel well. However, if you have a severe headache and you feel you can't daven properly, and you're missing out because we all want to daven, then you could swallow a pill without any fluid intake. Even though your life is not in danger, but if the headache is severe and you feel this is not how I want to spend my Yom Kippur, then you could swallow a pill. Because swallowing a pill is not a chotzi shir. It's not defined as a chila.
The same would be for someone to swallow electrolytes, a pill of electrolytes, in place of breaking their fast, especially someone who's a kitzas chayil or pregnant.
So once again, if he's just not feeling that well, he shouldn't be feeling well in Yom Kippur. That's exactly why we were told to fast. But if we're dealing with any medical condition, a pregnant woman whose doctor would feel more comfortable if she has some intake, then she could take those pills.
Is there a chiv or an inyan to try to do that before starting to take shiur? For someone who's, let's say, pregnant, they don't need to be, but if the doctor told them if they feel weak, they should take shiur. Should they first try to swallow electrolytes or something like that to help them?
If it will help them, definitely. But they should consult their doctors. So Rabbi Sofer, I related to all the questions you sent me. So before we say goodbye, anything else?
I think that's it. We have all the other Rabbanim from Halacha as well. And we have Ramicha.
So I'm always here for you, and I wish you all, Rabbanim, doctors, everybody calling into our wonderful program, a good gebencht year. It should be a year of nachas and simchas and good health, and it should be a good year for Klal Yisrael. These 2 years were extremely painful and extremely tough. Let us hope that this coming year will be a year of simcha and nachas and shalom for the land of Israel and for the Jews in the entire world. And it should be a shnas geula v'yeshua b'mheru v'yameinu amen. Thank you.